Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. We've been getting a lot of questions on Twitter and Instagram, and you said don't answer them. Save them for the pod.
Mm-hmm.
So we save them for the pod.
Yeah.
What do people want to know?
At Lord Luck 16 asks, just curious to know how the move into Dan's room went. Pressing topic all week. Keep up the tremendous work, gents. Hashtag my two favorite Jews.
Our brother Dan, another of hopefully his favorite Jews, used to live with us, and then he bought a place, and he decided he didn't want to live with us anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
so here we are with an extra room, and what do?
I moved into it.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't knock down the wall or anything.
So how'd it go?
It went great. I didn't
Good.
need too many trucks.
Wonderful.
And took me probably about 15 minutes.
Is it different?
It's a little weird because the rooms are mirror images of one another.
Right.
And so my windows are all on the wrong side. My closet's on the wrong side. It does feel a little bit like I'm having a sleepover in somebody's room and they're not there.
Do you sleep better because of the window situation or the bed situation or like the direction you face? And is your feng shui different?
My feng shui is...
Your pronunciation is different.
Yeah. It's my feng shui is on another level. It's like potpourri.
Yeah.
I sleep well because... I always sleep well.
Oh, there you go.
Big on sleep.
There you go.
Fucks with naps.
There you go.
And then we turned my room into a storage room.
Yeah, it's a glorified shoe closet. We have a lot of great shoes. People love our shoes.
Yeah, I don't find myself going over there anymore.
Well,
I mean, I stick to my side of the apartment.
Yeah.
now. I have my own bathroom. You have your own bathroom.
New bathroom, new Jeff.
A Buddha Dust Flicks on Twitter says, did you guys ever audition for SNL? And what do you think about Childish Gambino's This Is America drama? And can I intern for ya?
So 3 very different questions. First one, did we audition for SNL? No, we never formally auditioned for SNL. Huge SNL fans.
Yeah.
We never had the opportunity to audition. We may have written like a packet as... writing candidates. I honestly don't even know that our manager, and this is like 8 years ago when we had comedy management, I don't know that she even turned it in.
No, she did not like what we were doing.
Yeah, who even knows? I know that what we wrote was really funny, for sure. We just don't fit there now, I'm sure.
Yeah, we didn't really try too hard on those fronts.
No.
We just always wanted to do our own thing.
We mentioned Lorne Michaels a lot here, but we don't actually do anything about that.
Right.
What were the other questions? Donald Glover.
My question is, how did this guy's song... Like, how did people say... Because I had never heard this guy's song before.
Right. Which is no disrespect to the guy. Just a fact of life.
Yeah. I'd never heard it, and then suddenly it was just like, oh, well, this is clearly that.
There's a lot of people who think that they do sound alike.
Yeah, of course.
But maybe that is just friends being like, hey, I'm sticking up for my guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, and the third question is, can I intern for you?
Email us through our website. Tell us what skills you have.
Yeah, are you nice with the bow staff?
Right. Can you find us some way to get on SNL?
Yeah, if you are Lorne Michaels, you can absolutely intern for us. At Jason's Vision asks, what rap video would you guys like to have been in? I feel like we've answered this question before, and I feel like it might have been asked by this guy.
Really?
But my answer was Lil' Kim featuring Lil C's Crush on You, and I think your answer was Hypnotized by Biggie.
Well, you know what? I was just about to say that would be the video that I would choose.
Well, at least you're consistent, or consistent in my head.
I don't remember this at all, talking about it or whatever, but that is what I would choose because who wouldn't want to be in a helicopter or on a speedboat or...
Women, swimming...
in mermaid's costumes.
Yeah, in a tank.
All of that was like music video defined. If you do anything short of that, it's not a music video. By the way, just speaking about Crush on You.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the lyric...
Speed Down the Hutch 750 Deluxe?
No, that's a good one. No, the one, take you on a natural high.
Like a pilot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Take you on a natural high like a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I just learned recently.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, it's pilot. I thought it was pallet.
Like
pallet.
Artist.
No, pallet like you put boxes onto a wooden...
for like a truck.
Yeah, and it gets lifted and put on the truck.
Not as high as a pilot.
No, lifted high like a pallet.
How high do you lift a pallet?
A natural high.
It's like 10 feet.
Also, I would argue that neither one of those things are a natural high.
Take you on a natural high like...
like helium. Doesn't rhyme, but who wrote that? Cam?
Yeah. We should get Cam on the podcast and ask him if it was pilot or pallet.
There you go. Cam, somebody who we have tried so hard to get on this podcast has never gotten on the podcast.
Well, speaking of which, New Face on Twitter and Instagram asks, any guests that were kind of late or difficult to get, but turned out to be such a dope episode that you forgot about that part?
Can we pretend that Cam has been on the podcast? Because he has been the most difficult to book on this podcast.
Yeah.
Every time we see him, he's so willing to do stuff, and then it never happens.
I feel like the most obvious person who was like late was Theophilus London, who showed up 3 days late because his Uber got lost, and then he like took a subway to a train to a bus and then walked over here.
Most frustrating.
And it was, we also were filming at that point, and so
we had a whole film crew here.
And so they were not happy to be here like 3 days consecutively to get here.
It's all good though.
But no, that was a good episode. I think Swizz Beats, it took us 3 years to get him up here.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Swiss one. Marcia St. Hubert took a long time to convince her to come up here. The timing had to be right?
Did you notice that I said I said "op" here, like over and up at the same time?
I did not notice that.
Well, if anybody wants to rewind 5 seconds, I said get Swizz Beats "op" here.
Green Lantern was another great one that took a long time to make happen. But
yeah,
in those situations, after all that time, you just want to concentrate on a dope episode, and no one even remembers how long it took.
Except for now.
Except us.
Yeah, except when you ask a question.
We're
and we
so
have to
bitter
answer.
by this Cam thing.
I am Rel on Instagram says, how can other podcasters get you on their show? Is there requirements for you guys to come? First requirement is that you have to actually have a podcast. Because if you are telling me to come over to whatever spot you're at.
Just to hang out?
It's
not the move?
I mean, I'm happy to hang out.
Are you? Not for free. Listen.
Yeah. I don't get out of bed for less than a podcast.
That's right. Booking in bio. If you're in a different city, there's lots of requirements, in terms of transportation and
housing and flying.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
But if it's in New York City, if you have a reputable podcast, or even if you have an upcoming podcast, just offer us something different. We don't want to do the same interview over and over and over again. We think we have a lot to say, and hopefully we can appeal to your audience, and maybe you get something out of us being there, and bottled water would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, all it really takes is just like a good email.
There you go. Yeah, email us. Get in touch with us.
Because like some people will like do a thing on Instagram and it's like one line long. It's like, do my podcast. And it's what?
Who is this from? Lorne Michaels?
This is from Lorne Michaels.
Has he invited us onto his program?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the easiest possible thing. Jeff, who's on the podcast today?
On the podcast today is Brian motherfucking Nolan.
So what happens when his parents listen to this and they hear you say that?
Then they've heard his middle name said on our podcast, Brian motherfucking Nolan, B. Noel. Brian Nolan, the Senior Vice President of Brand Partnerships at Capitol Music Group. Brian Nolan, head of his own division, 1750. Brian motherfucking Nolan, whose name a lot of people might know just because he's been shouted out by J. Cole a bunch over the years.
Here's what I find interesting about Brian Nolan.
Yeah.
We do a lot of episodes of this podcast, and you think you hear every journey, and you think that they're all similar. Well, they're not, especially this one, because he's someone who could have been any type of radio rep forever. He could have worked his way up and then stopped at the ceiling at any record label, but he didn't. This is a guy who he was very successful, obviously, with 3 6 Mafia, with J. Cole, with everyone over at Sony Urban. But once he reached those heights, he was given an opportunity by his great boss, Ayelet, and figured out that there was more wiggle room in radio, and that was with sports. So he was able to create something new out of sports and music, his two passions, foster all these great relationships with everyone over at ESPN, work his way around all the major sporting events, and put people like J. Cole in the celebrity basketball game, and take Migos down to Turner and have them be a big part of this past basketball season. There's a lot in this episode, a lot through his singular and very unique and amazing journey to become a senior vice president on the other coast of this country and have such a great impact with not just one major artist, which, by the way, is rare to do in this business, but with at least 2 major artists, and who knows what's next. But shout out to Brian Nolan for making this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get into this episode, we like to recommend 3 other episodes that people might like.
Okay, number 1.
Number 1 is Ib Hamad, episode number 169.
Check out that Ib episode. He is J. Cole's manager, and he talks about all the behind-the-scenes stories, not just some of them. This is the definitive Ib Hamad J. Cole episode. You're going to find out about everything you want to know J. Cole and Dreamville, and what an amazing amazing journey those guys have been on.
Taylor Rooks, episode number 189.
She is a dynamic personality who works for Sportsnet New York, SNY, and she has, in a very short period of time, made such an impact interviewing everybody from Meek Mill right out of jail to the new Laker, LeBron James, the reigning champion and finals MVP, Kevin Durant. She has worked with everybody and anybody, and we ran into her the other day, and she's awesome, and you guys should hear her story.
Also, the basketball playing rapper draft with Big Waz and Black Trey, episode number 173.
All right, that one was a lot of fun. Also done in Los Angeles, California, with our two great friends, Trey and Waz, where the four of us sat down after NBA All-Star and figured out not the best rapping basketball players, but the best basketball playing rappers. And Jeff, your favorite basketball playing rapper, Bow Wow.
Yeah.
Did you see what he did last night?
I saw he has a picture with Magic and LeBron.
Yeah.
And everybody looks like they've been photoshopped in like weird proportions.
Well, it was a long time ago. It was a different time. But
Yeah.
Bow Wow was just like, who would have thought 15 years ago? And everyone was just like, hey, don't.
Yeah. But that's Bow Wow's like life.
That is.
Anyway,
Jeff, when do you want to get into this episode?
right now.
Yo, what up? It's Eric, a.k.a. Speed Bumps, a.k.a. Street Credibility.
Yo, what up? It's Jeff, a.k.a. Long Hair Don't Care, a.k.a. Open Relationship.
Yo, what up? Brian Nolan, a.k.a. B. Nolan, a.k.a. B. Now.
Yeah, this is a waste of time with ItsTheReal. Bino, what's happening?
What's good? Good night. I didn't realize y'all did that in real time.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Totally.
a taped intro.
No, never. And they're always new.
And
they're
everybody's always caught off guard.
Yeah. It's to our own detriment, too, because we do way too much thinking about it.
I love it.
But first of all, and we were just talking about this, we want to shout out our great friend, Rembert Browne,
Yes.
who was the one who really put this into the air. He
Yes.
was like, you know what? He hit us 3 months ago. He hit you 3 months ago.
Yes.
He was like, we need to make this Bino episode happen.
Yes.
And then today, Jeff was doing a little investigation on your Instagram.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I do some research.
Okay.
I don't, like, you know, I know you in real life.
Right.
And so I don't want to be like, I know your whole history, but I
Right.
do go through people's Instagrams, and I did find that Rembert did tweet one day that you are the most ratchet person.
So
and there was one fave,
Yeah.
and it was ItsTheReal.
yeah.
Yes.
And we really need to hear that.
From years ago.
Yeah.
Brian, like, what is this ratchet side of you?
I mean, I don't know if it's a ratchet side. I just think I've always had an affinity for hip hop in general and everything that came along with it, all sides of it. And so I'm sure there was some event that Rembert and I were at, and I probably said something that caused you guys to like that. That's the Venn diagram.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
like people
it was-
who will say it, and then people who will like it are at this table.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it was definitely like Rem mentioned you,
Yeah.
and we were just like, yes.
Yes, correct.
By the way, in your time in New York, because you no longer live in New York,
Correct.
but while you were here, what was the strangest event that you were invited to and actually attended?
I'll tell you that what happened was there was when I was an intern at Rawkus in 2001.
Most ratchet label.
Conscious and ratchet.
That's right.
There was I forget who it was, but one of the artists was not happy about with Rawkus for something. So I think they
It was to live
barnstormed-
quality.
They barnstormed another label, another like album release party, and they bought out the bar
Whoa.
for it, and they were like, come through, like, you know, they were angry about something. And I was like 20 years old. I was like, what is going on? And so I was like, okay, this is like the type of shit that happens in New York City.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time I really spent a ton of time out, in New York as a Rawkus intern.
We've been to, like, obviously, like, lots of listening parties, lots of things you expect.
Yes.
One time we were invited to a rooftop party for not Birdman's book, but one of those Cash Money
yeah.
releases, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have it. I forget the name of the
You
author.
still have the book?
Yeah, for
That-
sure.
Oh, I don't.
Are you kidding?
Did you read it?
You don't give away a first edition.
Did you read it? Did you get it signed by anyone?
No.
Oh.
I do remember talking about it extensively with Rembert, though.
Also, and I do know that they closed off the elevator so that Birdman and Slim could ride down it by themselves. Like no one else got to ride with them.
Yeah.
No, it's
that's where I want to get in life, where I can ride an elevator just by myself. That's it.
party of one.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly.
And also, like, even some of those invites are amazing.
Oh,
And
totally.
Frameable.
Yeah.
In terms of like art direction, like
Yeah.
that's the kind of like ratchet shit that I'm definitely into. In terms of those, so.
We years ago when we put out our first mixtape, we sent out a listening party invite. It happened to be sponsored by Ciroc. It happened to be at Daddy's house, and I remember that young Sav, who this is I think in between his Def Jam days and his MMG days, was like, "Is this real?" And we're like, "Yes, it is a real invite."
Ciroc is sponsored.
Yes, yeah.
No, but valid question.
I know, yeah.
Valid
100%.
Oh, for sure.
We don't even drink.
I know, yeah. And it's sponsored by Ciroc.
Yeah,
Amazing.
we were. It was like pictures of us and Mano holding bottles of Ciroc. We're just like,
yeah, sure.
No, I love it.
So, where are you originally from?
So I am from Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
Silver Spring, Maryland, to be exact.
Yep.
I grew up there my entire life. My parents still live there, and I think that was one of the one of the reasons I feel like I can be successful now is because of the melting pot where I grew up in East Silver Spring, and like our elementary schools were extremely diverse. The high school that I went to, Blair High School, was 30% black, 30% Hispanic, 30% white, 10% Asian. So like incredible variety of just walks of life.
Wait,
And-
why do you know these stats?
Because
Is
Blair
it,
High
like,
School
were you
was
going
like,
through the yearbook just like
I mean, yes.
another
yes.
white guy?
Yeah.
No, I think the reason why I know that is because they really pride themselves on how multicultural that part of Silver Spring is, and it really, I think you learn about different people in different ways.
Who are some of the most famous graduates from Montgomery Blair High School?
Steve Francis,
Yep.
definitely. I played basketball with him for many years. There was a Tacoma Park Boys and Girls Club, and there was one summer league where I was probably like 11, and we were playing with like the entire it was kind of like an open run, and my parents came and they saw like Steve Francis at like 16, 17.
Whoa.
And they yanked me out of it the next year. Like, this is a little above your skill set, son. Who else? Goldie Hawn went to Blair.
Yep.
My best friend Eric Hutchinson went to Blair.
Right
Who's
on.
a successful singer-songwriter. Connie Chung went to Blair.
Mm-hmm. You know who else went to Montgomery Blair High School?
Who's that?
Our mom.
No.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah,
Nice
she
setup.
she and Goldie were
No way.
she and Goldie were in class together.
No way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Montgomery
No, it's-
and our father went to I forget what the name of it. Did he go to Einstein?
No.
It's one of the schools that's like no longer around anymore.
Legendary South Montgomery County School.
Yes, yeah.
Love it. Blair High School. We were the last graduating class, 98, of that old Blair.
Right on.
Your mom went as well.
Yeah,
So,
totally. When the kids at Montgomery Blair walked out this
yes,
year,
amazing.
You said how much it meant to you.
Yeah, I think it was just. I had a friend also hit me about that because it was so like the national news was covering that, and it was.
This is right after Parkland, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, and they had that walkout, and it was just. I think it's indicative of. The kind of students that go to Blair and are raised in that DC area, similar to what I was talking about, of like understanding things that are larger than them, and that was wonderful to see, and I felt so proud to be an alumni of Blair, and I think you'll see more great things come from that school.
What did your folks do growing up?
My dad is from Brooklyn, New York City, and he is a statistician. He owned his own company. And my mom was she's from Southeast Washington, and she was a school teacher in PG County.
So how did they meet?
They met at Catholic University
Right
in
on.
DC. Yep. And then they moved to Silver Spring in like 77, right before my brother was born.
So and it's you, your brother.
Just the two
You and
of
your
us.
brother.
Yeah, my older brother's 2 years older than me.
What was growing up the two of you like?
It was good. I mean, I looked up to him for everything. I mean, I think we were, for the most part, because also what's great about DC is, as you guys know, is you had KYS, PGC, and HFS.
Yep.
3 legendary hip-hop and alternative stations, and there wasn't really like a pop station that we even listened to.
Really?
I mean, there was 107.3. There was a couple, but like it was driven by hip-hop and alternative. And even though they had the HF Festival, I really never spent a ton of time on HFS. I was listening to BGC and KYS. And that was led by my brother. Like he was the one who, first put me on to that early stuff, the LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out stuff, like a lot of that. And KYS and PGC had like legendary, and they were like icons to me, all those guys.
And where did you see Peter Rosenberg DJ first?
It's funny you mention that because I have a lot of good friends who were, maybe a couple miles away who grew up with the Rosenbergs.
Oh, right on.
I mean, I actually worked with Nick when I was an intern, his brother Nick, at Rawkus
Yeah.
for a second. And so I first found out about Peter Rosenberg through my friends because of the Duke, Maryland stuff.
Really?
Yes. So I
This
didn't
is
know,
why Duke sucks.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
didn't know Peter like until way later, but a lot of my friends know Peter very well from growing up in that time, and
Yeah.
it's just ironic and obviously incredible to see what he's developed and the brand that he's built.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you weren't like going to see him DJ at McDonald's.
No. Well, I think it was PMD was his name, right?
Yeah,
that was
correct.
his early.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think again, it was 1 degree of separation.
Right.
I'm sure I went to an underage club at some point where he was DJing in Maryland. But yeah, it was. There is 1 degree of separation with me and him.
So growing up in Silver Spring, you're not far from downtown DC.
Correct.
Would you make it into DC often?
A bit, yeah. I mean, I think we were, my parents we had season tickets to Redskins,
Right
diehard
on.
Washington Redskins fan. And we would go in, the subway is right there in Silver Spring Metro Station on the corner
Yeah.
of 16th Street. So
With the Penguins and all that? Yeah.
Yes. So we would go in a decent amount. I never really went to concerts until way later.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always influenced by a lot of what was happening in DC, like diehard go-go fan, like
Yeah.
Junkyard, Rare Essence. Like not until I got to college did I realize that nobody outside of that little window thinks it's a good genre
At all.
at all.
No.
And so like we
Or
grew up,
even knows about
or even
it.
knows about
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
we grew up on so many like Rare Essence records, Work the Walls, like all of these classic Junkyard, Northeast Groovers records.
That you couldn't like play for anybody.
anybody. And I'm like, you guys, you don't understand. Like, Overnight Scenario is the best song of a generation. And they're like, what is this garbage? That was a college conversation I had many times.
Oh my God.
So it was just and what's fascinating was PGC and KYS would play like hour blocks of just go-go. Like, could you imagine happening at like anywhere else?
Let me stop you. I can't imagine any of that.
Yeah, it's the definition of regional. Like
Yes.
that's it.
Yes.
So our cousins lived down there for a long time.
Okay.
Our aunt still lives down there.
Amazing.
Our grandparents lived down there. So we would go down for limited periods of time, right? Obviously, it's a 4.5 hour drive, so not far. We go down there a bit, but every time we would go down, whether it was with our family or whether it was like via school or something like that, there's so many museums to go to. There's all like the tourist attractions that you go to. Being from New York, we don't go near Times Square. We don't go to, we went to Ellis Island once. We went to never been to the Statue of Liberty. What did you try to avoid down there?
That's a good question. We never really went to
The McDonald's where Peter Rosenberg DJ'd.
we went to I don't know, like we did there wasn't one thing we didn't avoid per se. Because we just didn't go there that often. Like I never went on a tour of the White House.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
we went to the mall, and the mall for the National Mall.
Yeah.
The PG County Mall, PG Plaza Mall, also amazing. But we did those landmarks once in a while.
Right.
But there wasn't necessarily, I don't think in DC like a Times Square where you definitely don't go.
Yeah,
there.
but it wasn't like, yo, what are you doing today? I don't know. You want to go to the Jefferson Memorial?
No,
Like, none of
definitely
that.
was
Yeah.
not that. No. It was going. Do you want to go to City Place and play NBA Jam?
Yeah.
What we're saying. Yes.
And you're like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I
actually.
do want to do that.
I do want to talk about your shoe obsession.
Yes.
You as a kid, you
Yes.
wanted the Bo Jacksons.
Yes. I was obsessed with, again, because you're part of I was part of, there was a couple stores that will date me, but you guys will understand, like Up Against the Wall and Merry Go Round.
Okay.
Up Against the Wall
Are those go-go records?
Those are two, I think they're regional, retail outlets. So, when I was, it really got, I got obsessed from, probably 10 to 15 when, all of the starter jacket stuff, the Champion, the Nike, and the thing about, Bo Jackson and even Nike back then, you had Bo Jackson, you had Jordan, you had Agassi, you had a lot of different sports, and they were all hitting from the shoe stuff. So I would beg my parents to go to these stores, and we had a $60 cap on shoes in our house.
Wow.
Which means that puts, I can tell you where that puts you at. That puts you at the Air Magnum Force.
Oh,
that
yeah.
didn't have the air bubble.
You could have gotten some Pro Keds.
And it priced you out of almost everything.
I bet
Yeah.
those same shoes, by the way, if they were retro today, would cost about
Yes.
3 times
Amazing.
that. So
Yeah. So even remember the flights that got
Yeah.
reissued, those were $85. So those were out of our price range. So that just fueled my obsession more.
Did it make you want to steal things?
I was so enamored by it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the kids were wearing. This is a true story. Remember the original Nike pumps? The huge one in the back where we had to use like the
actually you physically pump it up.
I swear, we saw a kid when he bought those. He went overnight from being uncool to cool in like middle school based off of having those shoes alone.
Wait, where is he now?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Probably not. In the but like I saw with my own 2 eyes. I was like, this dude just bought those shoes for $175, and now he is like a cool person.
Damn.
So it's like that kind of like obsession with Guess, used jeans, Champion. I was like so obsessed with labels and culture back then.
You know what's really interesting though is that like in high school you have such a warped idea of what's cool and what's not, and if you don't get something in that, like having perspective now is just unreal to know like, oh, why was I even like in that frame of mind back then? But I totally understand.
What happened was like we were, because Blair High School, we were so close to it. Even growing up, when we had good basketball teams, like we had really like crazy basketball teams, and the
Bullets.
We had crazy basketball teams. So like the intro of, I remember the intro when I was in 6th grade going to those games. The layup line intro was the J. Rue Come Clean record.
Wow.
And so it's like you go there and you see like this. It's almost like an above the rim type scene. Packed high school gyms, like hip hop playing. People wearing the overalls with one strap down.
Yeah.
The purple Champion sweatshirts. And you just got like engulfed in that,
right?
And
who were you guys? The Devils or something?
The Blazers.
The Blazers. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was just like, it was a little bit like what Texas and maybe Pennsylvania, Ohio have for Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
Those basketball games. This was like a little like pre-Steve Francis, but these were just guys that never made it out. But like a thing that my parents would take us to, and that's part of the reason why I became so enamored with all that stuff, because I was seeing that as like a 6th, 7th grader.
Well, let me ask you about your mom writing a 2-page letter.
Yes, she did do that. So my mom got so fed up with my obsession with shoes and labels that she just had enough, and she wrote me a 2-page letter on why she thought I was turning into a horrible person.
Oh my God. At what age?
At like I 11 to 13.
Oh my God.
Because she was so frustrated. Because I was such a just beg her to buy and the answer was always no.
Right.
You wanted to be cool.
I wanted to be cool. I mean, I finally got like a Lakers starter jacket, and I wanted to be cool, and I wanted to wear those things. But that was one of the ways, after like 16 other ways of trying to get through to me.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and I love her for writing.
Yeah. Do you still have that letter?
I wish I did.
Yeah.
I don't. She might have it though. She might have it. I'll have to ask her.
So was your brother? Obviously he brought like music into your life, but what other things was he sort of like letting you know that this is how you grow up?
Really good at sports. He had a lot of friends, and I wanted to be friends with his friends. Yeah. And I just, even like shirts, if we would have had the same shirt and he wore, I would say, I want that shirt. Yeah. And then I already had the shirt. And so like, it was really, 2 years, it's like different because you guys have a brother as well. Like that separation of how many is really a thing.
Oh, for sure.
And the
you got to go to high school with your brother.
Yeah, for 2 years.
We never had that because we're 4 grades apart.
Got it. Yeah. So it's really like it's really interesting because it was so close, and I'm sure like to his credit, he pulled me along for a lot of the stuff.
That's dope.
Which was awesome.
On the flip side, did he have a good reputation with teachers where then it sort of like fell on you to be as good as your brother?
Yeah, I think he was always, he definitely set a good precedent for sure. Like just a good guy, really athletic, smart.
And then you came in,
the
rebel.
More athletic.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, smoking cigarettes, putting them out on different teachers.
He's a really good, was into track and played tennis for a couple years, but track was really his thing, and baseball was more my thing. But he set an incredible example, and a lot of the reasons I either did get in trouble or did not get into trouble was because of him.
That's awesome. When it came time for you to get your driver's license, how far away would you drive?
I mean, here's the other thing: in our house, not allowed to get your license until 17.
Wow.
Why was that?
They thought it was too young.
You know what? Maybe they were right.
My dad's from New York, so he got his at 18. My mom's from Southeast DC. She got his at 16.
Yeah.
They split the difference.
Yeah, sure.
Which was their reasoning.
Yeah.
So the option was, instead of getting your license at 16, you could either, like my brother got a bike for like a brand new bike for his birthday. And that's when I was like super
bicycle, not a motorcycle. Yeah.
He got a hog.
Yeah. I wasn't really into cycling, so I got a huge like weight set because I was playing baseball and like working out a lot. So that was my 16th birthday present. But
being old diesel.
Yeah. But I will tell you this: like 17. our house to Blair High School was like less than a quarter mile, and I had a parking spot, so I would drive our '96 black Acura to school every day
For 2 minutes.
for 2 minutes, and then drive to Wheaton Plaza and get the Bone Thugs and Harmony double album.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, 'cause
God.
we had an open lunch. We had an open lunch because there was too many people to have the cafeteria. So
Yeah.
all of those seminal hip hop albums were bought at Circuit City in Wheaton Plaza.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we had Swiss up here, I told him that I would go every week to check for his album at Borders
Yes,
Bookstore.
yes, it's a thing.
And it kept getting delayed, and that's
Yeah.
like commonplace now,
Yeah.
but that was beyond me at that point. And I was just like, going back, you don't have it? You don't have
No,
it?
and
Yeah,
also,
well, same with me. I used to go to try and get the Nerd album in
Oh,
search of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
they
is
totally re-recorded
very
it.
meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. the live band version or the
Right.
the one they switched around.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and Sam Goody was just like, get out of here.
It's
Like,
not
go
here.
away. We don't even know what
No.
nerd is.
Yeah.
You're the nerd.
No, but those circulars, like that's when you knew it was definitely coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those circulars for the Best Buys of the world.
You didn't belong to like Columbia House or anything, did
I
you?
definitely did.
Did
Yeah,
you really?
Oh, yeah. For like the alternative stuff that I wasn't really into, but I wanted for 1 cent.
Where it just showed up at your house?
Totally.
And,
Yeah. Like I definitely wanted like a Cranberries discography from the BMG or Columbia House.
Oh my
style.
God.
Yeah.
Not too late.
Yeah.
It's not too late. No,
Yeah.
it's not too late.
So what were your jobs in high school?
So I was from age 13 to 22. I was a golf caddy at Chevy Chase Club.
Wow.
And my dad was a caddy at Piping Rock in Long Island, which is a very like prestigious like Long Island old money country club. And so my brother was a caddy at Chevy Chase, and then at 13 I started doing it, and that's an incredible experience because the caddy shack is like on one side, right? And then you have this like small fence, and that fence divides the poorest people to literally the most powerful and richest people in Washington.
Whoa.
Like a lot of Supreme Court justices belong there. I caddied for Alan Greenspan when he was dating Andrea Mitchell.
Wow.
Like crazy stuff. And so learning how to be accepted on both sides of the fence from 13 on was a really formidable experience for me. And I used those type of learnings every day.
My God.
Because you really had to like, all those guys were from Southeast. They had a lot of wonderful people, but a lot of issues.
With their putting game?
Yeah, with their putting and some drug issues.
Yeah.
And then you go across the fence, and then you learn like not to speak when spoken
Yeah,
to.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say.
all of those unwritten rules that no one really teaches you.
Yeah.
That you learn for 4.5 hours on a golf course. Because a lot of times, I spent 3 hours with Alan Greenspan. That's a lot of time. Or like Jordan came. I caddied for Wilbon.
Wow.
And that's how I met Tony Kornheiser.
Wow.
Like that. It was fascinating, and it was cash only. So you were doing that, and you could get out at 7 a.m. You could have $100 in your pocket by 11 a.m.
And you keep that. You don't have to
And-
share it with the
correct.
rest.
And
Yeah.
No, you give it to Alan
Green.
Greenspan. You say, what do I do with this?
I should have done that. But yeah, that was the thing. So it was cash only. So we always had cash in our pocket in the summers, and it was like
You could buy so many shoes.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And so I started out carrying one bag, and then after like a year or two, you carry 2 bags. And
Once you got that weight set.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I was doing it, and then that's how I did it through college and through when I was working in the mailroom, like up until like 23.
Wow.
I was still working as a caddy on the side.
At what point do you understand how to read a green?
That's a good question. I would say like over a period of time, and you kind of like.
Because at 13, you're not.
I'm not helping anybody. Like they're not saying, please don't read that. But after a while, like in some of those member guest tournaments, like if you've been there for a couple of years, and you might just say two cups to the left or whatever.
Wow.
But yeah, it was.
Were you like, did you actually know? Or were you like lying to people? You're like, oh yeah. I think the.
I'd seen enough missed putts to know. So that was 8 years of, and the other thing was I didn't have a license, so it's taking the J or the M, whatever that was, to East West Highway, and like getting up at 6 a.m. every day in the summer.
Wow.
Every single day, and you put your name on a list because first come first serve.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Wow.
So every day, my brother and I were getting up crazy 5:30 in the morning. It's like a sport how early you could get there.
Yeah.
And then what you do is
It's like the Supreme line.
it's crazy. It
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
It's like, and then we would go, and then when we had a car, we would drive down to like Einstein Bakery and wait for like an hour and a half because the first tee time was like 7:15.
Man.
And just learned a lot about life on the golf course in that caddy shack. A lot about life.
What does seniority get you there?
A good amount because people have their regulars. So like you may not have to come at 6 a.m. If you know your guy, they didn't really, I guess they had phones or they can communicate like, yo, I'm playing at 9 o'clock. An OG guy could come at 8:45 and then get off.
Yeah.
Whereas if you came at 9 o'clock, you were probably 30th on the list and not getting out till like 3 o'clock. And you're not making money when you're sitting in that caddy shack.
Yeah. Right.
You know, you're just watching crappy soap opera. Like all day long.
When was the first time that you got to play the course?
On Mondays, caddies are allowed to play.
Yeah.
That was the rule back then.
So at 13?
Yeah, any caddy could play. Yeah. So we would play on Mondays.
Yeah, I bet
good?
you.
I didn't start getting decent at golf until like college. So I didn't play. I was playing other sports.
Yep.
But I wish I would have learned how to be really good at golf early on. It certainly helps you now.
Yeah.
Because again, it's 4.5, 5 hours with somebody that is uninterrupted for the most part, and they're focused, and that's. I mean, think about anything. Friends, family members, husbands, wives. You rarely get 4.5, 5 uninterrupted hours in life. And so that's why the golf course is a fascinating place to have conversations and to learn about a lot of different things.
Well, we're going to do a 6-hour podcast today.
Perfect. As long as we get a drink at the turn, then we can be fine. We can do that.
Where do you fall in the Phil Mickelson sort of hubbub that happened?
I mean, it's just like...
He hit a moving ball, right?
Yeah, he hit a moving ball. It was just unbecoming of him. I mean, it's something that any of us would do. As a caddy, I'd be like, how are you doing?
You really should have consulted me.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is you rarely see those lapses at the highest level. Like, you know, like whether it was Jordan or LeBron or anybody, like you don't see like a conscious think about a baseball player just like throwing it in like for no reason just because he's pissed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that like you rarely see that just glimpse of not having a top level of thinking during a competition. So I was surprised, but I mean he's done enough wonderful things in the last 25 years where anyone gets a pass. I guess it's Phil.
Yeah. At the end of high school, as you're getting ready to graduate, where are you looking to go to school?
So there was 4 schools I applied to, and I was chasing like a Division III baseball opportunity in Lynchburg in Virginia, and James Madison was the school I ended up going to. Also, Maryland was getting super hard to get into.
Really?
I mean, somehow they let people
for in-state.
Yeah, in-state too. So I actually didn't apply to Maryland because I thought I was not going to get in.
Whoa!
So I didn't even apply.
Where'd your brother go, by the way?
Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Virginia Tech. Yeah, 2 years, and he was there during the Michael Vick era, which was incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went to James Madison, 2 hours south in Virginia, and had a wonderful time. Met a lot of my good friends, but met my wife there. It was a fantastic time.
Not a big school.
Not a big school, about 14,000.
Okay.
It used to be an all-women's school, so the ratio
Shouts
was
to Dolly
like,
Madison.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was ratio was like 70-30.
Wow.
Even then.
More stats.
Yeah. Right. I'm playing the eyes. Exactly. So, and I had never knew. The good thing about there, like all my friends were for the most part from like the middle of nowhere, Virginia, and so I had literally never heard of Led Zeppelin, never heard of CCR.
Oh, listen, they never heard of Go-Go, so
right,
you were straight. Yeah.
So that was the best thing that came out of that time in the country in Harrison, Virginia, is learning about. I had literally never heard of Led Zeppelin in my life, outside of maybe when Puffy did the
Literally,
that's how. So it was
on the Godzilla soundtrack.
From a music standpoint, I learned so much about like Alice in Chains and just all these bands I just never knew until I met people who were really passionate about it.
Yeah, your freshman year roommate has.
Yes,
that's what he brings to the table.
No, it's true. It was fascinating. So.
What'd you go there to major in?
Majored in marketing.
Okay.
And then.
What'd you know about marketing? Were you like?
I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
I had no direction, zero direction. And I didn't know what I wanted. I mean, I was music. I liked sports, but I had no direction until my parents told me I had to get an internship my sophomore going into my junior year. And fun fact, my dad is friends with Donnie Simpson, the morning show host, legendary, and also did all the BET. Interviews, and so he reached out to Donnie Simpson, and Donnie emailed. He was at KYS at the time, and Thea Mitchum, I think, was the head of programming there, and or is PGC or KYS, and then Thea Mitchum reached out to a promotion executive named Jim Payne at Arista in the DC office. So I interned for Arista in like the branch office when we had distribution branches.
Wow.
In 2000, and that was right around when what were they working on? Some of the Outkast stuff. I remember there was a single release party where you could get exclusive, like we could hear Miss Jackson and B.O.B. for the first time.
Whoa.
Because all of like
Bombs Over Baghdad, not
exactly.
B.O.B.
Yeah,
Bombs
not
Over
the
Baghdad.
rapper.
So like
yeah.
at BMG you had Arista, Bad Boy, Loud was still in RCA. You had the pop reps. You had Wind Up. And so it was incredible. And then you also had all the sales reps and stuff. So I learned a ton about, that was my first foray in the music industry.
Wow.
And that's what got me focused. And I came back that junior year. Okay, now I'm gonna start.
And what could you do on campus that had to do with music?
There were those street teams.
Yeah. So you were putting up posters?
The digital street teams.
Oh, digital.
Platform.net. Do you guys remember?
No.
Hooked.
Oh, Hooked,
Hooked,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
Hooked,
we've
I know.
talked about Hooked on the podcast. Yeah.
Platform.net was an OG Internet 1.0 company. And so I became a digital street team member. And as part of that, they, Rawkus was advertising on their like banner ads.
Mm-hmm.
And this was right around when they were doing a Lyricist Lounge show in 2000. And I said to the Platform.net people, like, can I go to the show in New York at the Roseland Ballroom?
Wow.
And so they said, yeah, we'll put 2 tickets up there. And so my friend and I drove from Harrisonburg to New York for this Lyricist Lounge show, got to Roseland Ballroom. Did you think my name was going to be on that guest list?
Absolutely not.
No way.
Absolutely
No way.
not.
So what do you do in that
So
situation?
I'm standing there at the will call.
I am the rep.
I'm stuttering. I'm 20 years old, 19 years old. And we drove up 7 hours for this show.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so...
And by that time, like, Roseland was closed.
Yeah, exactly. So I just waited. I was like, I'm not leaving until I get into this show.
Yeah.
Like, Pharoah Monch is like literally up there. I'm
Yeah.
not leaving.
Yeah.
And so this woman gave me 2 tickets for somebody else. And my friend and I walked in and
Wow.
she said, if you ever need anything, let me know. And gave her she gave me her information.
What?
So then...
What kind of charmed bullshit is
yeah,
this?
I know.
So then I went back, show was awesome. And another internship I thought I had for the summer of 2001 fell through. And I emailed that woman, Alexa Bredberry, who was in the marketing staff at Rawkus. And she said, I actually need an intern. And that's how I got an internship at Rawkus Records.
Crazy.
And that was June of 2001. And that's when like the Beat Miners album was coming out. Big L's mom used to always come up and get the royalty checks. And I used to see like Quali in the elevator and Black Sean, who was the A&R guy, and Dan Seliger had him on, like Jared Bryant. And like the whole thing was so crazy.
So you moved up here.
Yeah, so I was at NYU has housing if you have an internship.
Really?
So a bunch of my friends and I had internships.
That's a great
here.
place to live,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Hayden Hall in the park. I was like, yeah, this can work.
Yeah.
And so I stayed at Hayden Hall at NYU and interned at Rawkus that summer, and it absolutely changed my life.
What did they have you do?
A lot of like calling record stores and saying how many pieces of Big L Platinum Plus are we selling. That's a fact. And like Howie McDuffie was like my also I kind of reported to him when Alexa was busy. A lot of stuff with the Beat Miners album. I did a lot of stuff with Mr. Walt and those guys. And that was like a little on the tail end because they just signed Cool G Rap for way too much more money and they were starting to lose their way a little bit. So I wasn't there at the peak of all that stuff, but I was definitely there when it was rocking.
Man.
It was rocking. They had the Eminem like early on. That first Slim Shady gold record in their lounge. It was crazy.
I feel like I was interning for a record label because I was calling up and being like, "Do you have the Nerd album? Do you have the Nerd album?"
No, literally, it's the same thing. It's so true, guys. Like it was a lot of that and a lot of like putting posters together and like the POP for retail, putting that up. And I got to meet everybody. Came in like every day and
Nick Rosenberg.
Nick Rosenberg was there. Yeah, he was working there. And also
Was Cypher Sounds there?
He was probably coming in. It was before the Volume 3 had come out.
Yep. Soundbomb.
But Black Sean and I'll tell you the only time I've ever been starstruck in my entire career is when I ran into Ayatollah, the producer, in the Rawkus mailroom.
I thought you meant Khomeini.
No, Ayatollah, the producer. Like that was like a year or two after Miss Fat Booty came out.
Yeah.
And I had never like met any like important hip hop producers.
That's the only time you've been starstruck?
Really, I was super starstruck.
Damn. Sorry, Michael Wilbon.
Yeah, but like
He's not a rapper.
But like it was such an interesting to be in that mailroom because they shipped all the vinyl the vinyl distribution was handled by Rawkus.
Yeah.
So they shipped everything out of 676 Broadway.
And that was on you?
Well, I mean, I was helping to get the T-shirts. They had like the whole They had all their T-shirts on one side and all their vinyl.
Wow.
Shipped around the world from that Rawkus.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Did you go to any of the shows like at SOBs or anything?
All of those, yeah, all of those. Yeah, it's crazy. And our in-store for the Beatminers album was in Brooklyn, and it was the same day as the Jagged Edge in-store at the Tower Records on West 4th.
Wait,
Wow.
which one was bigger?
And I quickly learned, and I was talking on Subway to go to Brooklyn for this Beatminers in-store, and the Jagged Edge line was like around the block times 6.
Yeah.
And we got to the Brooklyn in-store, and it was like,
Not where the party was at.
not where the party was at.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Did you have a chip on your shoulder being at Rawkus Records where you're like, yo, I'm part of this? And
Oh my gosh.
I'm saving hip hop.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was just, I kind of fell into it, and I felt so like I couldn't believe this was happening because I had those pictures on my wall 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And to be at 676 Broadway, it was just it was crazy.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful to be, play an extremely small role, just to be a fly on the wall to see this stuff happening. They had offices in LA and in London, and they were, and like, I remember Black Sean's office just being enamored, like people smoking weed I was like, this is a thing? Are
Right,
people getting paid for this? And that opened my eyes into like, okay, nothing else is going to happen nothing else outside of the music industry is going to happen for me. That summer really was like, okay. And when I left, they said, okay, when you graduate, I left like, August 20th, 2001. When you graduate, we'll have a job probably for you. And then 12 days later was 9/11. And then Rawkus, for other reasons, went from like 60 employees to, you remember that time? Like
Yeah.
13, 14, 15 employees. My boss left, and that was it. That was the end of my time.
So when you graduate from college,
No job.
No job.
No job. Yeah, back to caddying. And interviewing for jobs. And those 4 months of interviewing coming up here on the train were dark days.
Were there any chances of you just like not living in New York?
Yeah, open to it. As long as if there was a job, I was open to it in the music
I'm not
industry.
offering you one now.
If there was, I was open to any location, as long as it was in the music industry. And so, do you remember that company, Major League Entertainment? They co-put out one of those. It was like a Rawkus co-release that I think Pharoah Monch did. Anyways, I interviewed with them. I took the train up, and they never showed up for the interview at their office. I got to their lobby, never showed up.
That's so shitty.
Yeah, it was so shitty. And I interviewed.
I am the rep.
Yes. You know my resume. I am 21 years old, and I've worked at 2 regional record labels.
Have you heard of platform.net?
Yeah, exactly. And then another legendary one was I interviewed at the Cutting Room Studio, which was 672 Broadway or one of those. And they said, we can give you the overnight shift, cleaning the studio, not paid.
And
that
you
sounds-
said
That sounds terrible.
no.
I did tell that to my now wife, then girlfriend. She was like, absolutely not.
Man.
Yeah, so it was rough there. But then I ended up getting a job in the mailroom at BMG at the place I interned with originally in 2002.
Right.
Which was paid and not overnight.
Which was paid, yeah, which was paid. And that was, and I did that for 13 months. And that was the start of just incredible, a really fun run so far. And
How many rappers worked in that mailroom with you that were trying to get you to listen to their raps?
It's funny because not as many as you'd think. They were probably going
I
to
think
like the reps.
7,000.
Yeah, it was Greenbelt, Maryland.
Yeah.
Like a lot of boxes are checked in terms of how many rappers are rolling up to the BMG Mid-Atlantic office. But yeah, it was a great time there because you got to see like what does promo mean? What does sales mean? What is like the New York offices calling down for their distribution calls and fascinating time. And that's like when a lot of I mailed out a lot of Bone Crusher.
Oh man,
a lot.
It's a big Bone Crusher
Yeah.
time.
A lot of Bone Crusher. A lot of a lot of some of that Bun B stuff on Jive. Just a lot of classic stuff. A lot of the Outkast stuff. And really a wonderful time, to be starting out and at the lowest possible part in the mailroom.
And what did you think was the next step up?
I knew there was distribution, like a field marketing rep was the next step up within the system. And so this is a crazy story. So they broke down distribution of like all the retail outlets by pop, urban, and alternative. And so they were like the urban product development coordinator, PDC. And so you deal with like the Sam Goodies and all this stuff, and you'd be responsible for a marketing campaign. So the urban product guy, really nice guy, he actually was out in LA and he was killed in a drive-by
Whoa.
Holy shit.
And this guy, Jay Reed, a wonderful guy. And so the only reason I got out of the mailroom is because the woman who was doing urban field marketing got his job. So then I took her job in Philly as the field marketing rep in Philadelphia. And that's how I got out of the mailroom, because really unfortunate, tragic event where this executive, Jay Reed, was killed out in LA, and that got me to Philadelphia.
Oh my God.
So it was like, I knew him extremely well.
Holy shit.
And he went out there to do some stuff, and that's how it was crazy. 2003.
So
crazy.
So you go to work in Philadelphia then?
So yes, I moved to Philadelphia, and that was amazing because that was at the time when like Music Soul Child and all the Rockefeller Philly stuff was really happening.
Oh my God.
It was such, and again, this job is literally just putting up like posters at 30th Street Station, that,
right?
You know, and but I said, okay, I'm gonna make the most of it and like go to more shows and like go to Fluid, where Questlove and were hosting their weekly parties, and like going to the 5 spot and going to all these dope spots.
Are you meeting people?
100%.
So
just like put myself out there. I'm the field marketing rep.
Right.
Why aren't you talking to me? And so so I met a lot of people. Like Sneaker Villa was like a spot that I think still exists in Philly, and all the radio reps I became cool with. So when we would do walkthroughs, all the radio reps I would tag along with them, and just incredible time. And like that was when Iverson was like going out to clubs like a lot.
Whoa.
Were you going to clubs with Iverson?
Well, the Ruben Studdard album release party.
Hold
in
on.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. This is like the Venn diagram is just
I
like
know. Here we
completely
go.
on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were about 30 people at this Ruben Studdard album release party in Philly. And
A real who's who.
and one of them was definitely Allen Iverson, who pulled up in his Bentley and the sunflower seeds and the whole thing. Yeah.
By the way, in that situation, it's like, I don't care that there's just 30 people here.
No, it was amazing.
When AI shows up.
He was playing pool. It was crazy. And so like that, and that was like, I would see the retail posters, and I remember like, Thierry Marie and Petey Crack were like in 16-point font, and Kanye West was like on 2-point font.
Yeah.
Fact, all those retail markets in Philly had those Rockefeller like big posters. You remember those ones?
Yeah, totally.
Of course.
And I remember like that was right when College Dropout was starting to happen.
Yeah, I mean it's the Ruben Studdard time, so sorry 2004.
2004. Yeah. So
which, by the way, kills at karaoke.
Great karaoke.
Even now, it does.
Yeah, still holds up.
Yeah.
Still holds up. So that was an incredible time to be in Philadelphia. I did that for 9 months, and then I left to go to
an actual city.
Back to DC for a radio promotion job as like a consultant, and then my boss there got to Sony in 2005, and that's how I got to Sony. He was really tight with Don Einer, and I started at Sony Urban in the rap mix show department.
So who else was working at Sony Urban at that time?
So Lisa Ellis was running it. That's where I met Chris Green and Malcolm Miles in the rap promotion department.
Mm-hmm. Was KP working there?
KP, yeah. So KP and Dino were
Dino
was with Chad Elliott.
Yep.
KP was the boss, and Dino and Chad were like, and then just like
Kawan Prather and Dino
DeValle.
Yeah.
Like gunners, like, and Chad Elliott did all those, did a lot of stuff with Jermaine Dupri and wrote records also. And so between KP, Dino, and Chad is just hitters.
Yeah. Like
really strong A&R. And, that's one of the reasons, I don't know the whole backstory, but when Destiny's Child did Soldier, you had KP who signed T.I., and you had Dino who did the Cash Money deal. That's why you have Wayne. It's, one of the reasons why you have Wayne and T.I.
Unbelievable.
Hold on. I thought it was an organic thing.
So that
was a big moment.
Yeah,
that was huge.
moment. And so to see like, so Sony Urban at that time was just, we were just, John Legend was on, like, I came in like on the 3rd single.
Yep.
And did a lot of great work with them. And then
that was for his first record.
Yeah, first record for Get Lifted. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And it was awesome. It was like my first promo tour was 3-6 Mafia, and I started with Stay Fly at like 15 spins. I started like October 2005, and they had just put out Stay Fly.
15 spins where?
In the mix, like a week, like super early.
Wait, like total?
Total. Like the song
nationwide.
Just came out. Nationwide.
Not Philly,
No, just came out. And so we just started working at Mix Show.
Wow.
And it started to there were a couple like early markets that really started to get onto it. We knew we had some, so we were putting them on this promo tour.
Yeah.
Literally. And JMH in Greensboro. And so So I was in a row with Paul, Juicy, and Crunchy and those guys for like months.
Wow.
There's places that you start with, Hartford, Connecticut, right?
Yep.
Some places in Texas.
Yep.
Well, in terms of like breaking records.
Yeah.
The good
because
programmers.
because those programmers want to be the first guys who get a record.
Yep. And obviously with them it was in Memphis.
Yeah.
Devin Steele, those guys were no better with breaking records.
And then you see growth, and then you can graduate to the next thing.
And then like I think once it starts really proving its weight outside of the regional, like 3 6 Mafia Records will always do well at HRK and KXHT, I think were the call letters back then. So, but when we start to see other, whether it was like ZMX or whatever, start to move on Stay Fly, and then you just felt it, and it was insane to see it in real time as Stay Fly is like ascending and becoming like this iconic thing, and I became close with those guys, and fascinating. And then so that was about 3 or 4 months, and we have just like a million stories, and it just. I remember when the album came out, like they weren't thrilled about that first week, and I was on a tour bus with them from Houston to Dallas.
Whoa!
When those first week numbers, and the first week numbers were decent, but like Juicy and Paul, wanted more. So like that was my first interaction with artists not being happy on first week numbers. I'm on the tour bus with them going from Houston to Dallas, and so.
How long is that ride?
I'm gonna incorrectly say maybe 3 hours.
And how long did it feel like?
A billion with Paul screaming or something. Really Juicy screaming probably. And so, but those guys I became really close with, and they're wonderful people. And then Pop My Collar just like flew.
Yeah.
And then Side to Side flew. I mean, people forget the Side to Side remixes you had
with Kanye.
Yeah.
Because he had the good music deal with Sony Urban. And then you had Bow Wow as we were trying to keep doing that. So like that Side to Side, those records were awesome. And then like Got You Hooked with Remy Ma, like those. So that whole process of Most Known Unknown like becoming a thing was my first foray.
That Side to Side remix is still one of our favorites.
It's unbelievable.
And we like the mixtape like versions better than the actual like
Yeah,
but like they like those because we used to A side B side those records. And I think Got You Hooked. Side to Side was a proper single, but Got You Hooked was the B side to Pop My Collar. And I remember we were at the Mix Show Power Summit, and Remy Ma came up to like Chris Green, and she was like, "Thank you, like that record is keeping me so hot right now."
Wow.
And that was just a B side, but 3 6 Mafia was so on fire, and we did so many amazing things, and incredible time.
How creative were you allowed to get in terms of pushing records that you felt some sort of attachment to?
I was like the fourth on the totem pole on the rhythm department, so not. But just like we were getting, we had like those little flip records were working. We had a lot of records.
So you were like a caddy. You were waiting. You speak when spoken to.
Speak when spoken to. Deliver these records.
Yeah.
Get Mix Show airplay.
Yeah.
And
Get yelled at.
Get yelled at on Monday morning a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of yelling. But it was just those were like insane records, and you start to like. Then you get a feel of like these, like in that video for Stay Fly. I think Gil Green did it. I think just iconic.
Yeah.
And everything lined up. And now to see it, to see them like 25 years in the game now, like just you see this whether it's with the G-Eazy record or the A$AP Ferg record. It's
right
like,
now
they're more relevant than they ever have
Which
been.
is crazy.
How crazy is that?
Very, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
We were at Fool's Gold Day Off when A-Track and Nick brought Juicy out.
Yeah.
As sort of like a legacy artist.
Yeah.
He was doing the mixtape series.
Yes, with
it was Blue Lean Dream, and he was doing with Lex Luger.
Right.
Okay.
But it was still like, it's that guy from 3 6 that hit maybe like 5 years before.
Yeah.
But now you're right, piping hot.
I mean,
and the influence is just
the influence is crazy.
Yeah.
The cadences, the publishing must be insane.
I bet.
And so I'm super happy for them, and they're wonderful people.
Well, this is jumping ahead, although we already just did jump ahead.
Yeah.
This is jumping back ahead. The Oscars.
Yes.
Were you around during that time?
Yeah. I mean, you see, it was Lisa Ellis and Liz Housel, one of the person you see those are 3 women screaming in the back when they pan to them because they put them way in the back. And that was just a incredible, that's when like we were so like riding high.
Yeah.
And I, on the double XL that month after, they put that picture of the 3 of them with their Oscars up of like, and then there was some saying, and I blew that back page up of just like a reminder of like, if 3 6 Mafia can win an Oscar, then I don't want to hear this can't happen. And that was like an inspirational thing.
Yeah.
And it's always a good reminder of like, if 3 6 Mafia can win an Oscar award, then any idea that you guys come up with or whoever comes up with if they believe in it, can potentially see the light of day because 3 6 Mafia won an Oscar.
Yeah. Hey guys, just want to take 1 second to interrupt this podcast because Jeff, you know what time it is?
What time is that?
It is T-shirt time, and T-shirts are going all around this country, Jeff, from Los Angeles to Northern and Southern California, Montreal, which is not in this country, Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Long Island, Westchester, all around New Jersey, Cheyenne,
Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten, Uptown,
Cheyenne,
Uptown.
Wyoming,
Let's make it happen.
Portland, Oregon, Columbia and Baltimore, Maryland, Wheaton, West Virginia, Marietta, Georgia, Toronto, Canada, Austin, Ennis, Cyprus, Texas, Port St. Lucie, Florida, Cleveland, Ohio, Washington, D.C., and many more. Jeff, our AKA T-shirts, now in black and in purple. Our Lakers T-shirts, which we only have 3 larges left. If you're a LeBron James fan, if you're a Los Angeles Lakers fan, if you're an It's The Real fan, we have 3 large Los Angeles It's The Real T-shirts. You should get them right now.
What if you're a Lonzo Ball fan?
I say you still get them. All the T-shirts, impeccably put together, impeccably designed, impeccably fit.
ItsTheReal.com/shop.
So go get yours today before they run out. We're mailing them every day with handwritten notes.
Handwritten notes. Our mom loves them.
How nice. Go to ItsTheReal.com/shop right now and back to the podcast. What did it feel like to work with a team and see all these different divisions work together?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Because, again, previously I was in like a regional office. So like, to be at the hub, which I always wanted to be, was fascinating. You see how I don't know any of this stuff works.
Right.
So you're learning in real time how, when you get airplay at like a cube in Seattle, how you need to activate the sales team and like you make sure, and or like when we have a new deal with Kanye West, let's put him on the remix. Stuff like crazy.
Yeah.
So it really was a crash course in learning how
And there's so many divisions back then too, because you had
Tons.
the
you had money in the industry.
the video team.
Yeah, the
and-
ringtone division.
Yeah, no,
No,
honestly.
we know people who have plaques from ringtones.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
One of the smartest guys at Sony, this kid, he started out being like the ringtone guy.
Wow.
And he would always get called on in the meetings. Always. And so, yeah, there was way different departments then than there are now.
When were the big meetings then? On Wednesdays or?
The Sony Urban meeting, I think, was on a Wednesday.
Because you had the Tuesday releases.
Tuesday releases, and you also had like the Columbia label meeting, which was super like buttoned up. The Sony Urban meetings were a little less buttoned up. A lot less buttoned up. But yeah, those were weekly meetings, and you'd go over like so-and-so. It was crazy.
Traveling so much on the road.
Yeah.
Do you get to keep those miles?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's
I
dope.
also learned that there's this one hotel in Dallas. Like you saw like a lot of times you were staying where the artists were staying in like dope hotels.
That's really nice.
Amazing. Cause I'd never been to like Texas that much before, or like any of these places.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely get the miles.
When I did the Rihanna plane, did not get the miles.
Interesting.
Did not get the
No,
miles.
Would have been great.
No.
Also didn't get to stay in hotels that much.
Yeah, yeah.
But the hotels we did stay in, amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we did have your own frequent flyer miles and.
Who are some of the radio people that you grew closest to?
That's a good question. I would say DJ Buck for sure in Hartford at WZMX. The folks down at LLD in Tampa, Orlando, and Christine Peters are wonderful people. A lot of the people at Power 96 in Miami. Cube in Seattle, Hyphen is a good friend of mine.
Oh, Hyphen listens to our podcast.
Yes, DJ
Shout out to
Hyphen,
him.
What up? Yeah, just those were the key people.
And
How does payola work?
It's funny because that settlement happened in 2004, like that whole blow up thing. So I came in like at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Don't-
Didn't have to deal
don't
with.
that.
Yeah.
All that stuff was in place, and I just it came down to like, are the records hot and are you fun to be around? That's what promotion comes down to.
Yeah.
Are you fun to be around? Are the records hot? And have you helped me in some way?
what is some record that you pushed that people really took a chance on just maybe because you were a good guy?
I think one record that I'm really proud of is that Ray Cash Pumpin' My Music record.
Yo!
Great record.
Great record featuring Scarface.
Yeah.
on the original,
Yeah.
I think.
Also high tech on the remix.
Yes.
Bun
yes.
B, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that record, KP signed Ray Cash,
Yep.
and we had put out 1 or 2 records before. But that record, we were like, oh, that's a record. And I remember going in Portland, KXJ in Portland. They played it, and I believed in that record. And that's a great hip hop record. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Right.
Well, so we went to Akron, Ohio for like a speaking thing. Shout out to Just Crisis, and we heard that it wasn't big actually in Ohio.
Right.
That it was big in like Dallas.
We didn't
and
break it maybe all the way. I felt like we got it top 10 at Rhythm. But yeah, I mean, we could have. There are probably patches where it definitely didn't get any airplay. But great record, great track, and that was a good like run on like that broke from Mix Show. bro, and we did so many custom versions of that song. like if you were a DJ, like I'm sure Peter Rosenberg has a version of Ray Cash singing like "Shout Out to PMD" or whatever.
That's amazing. That's sort of like when LMFAO was like, "I'm in Des Moines, bitch."
Yeah. So that was our special. We used to do so many custom.
They sold all those on iTunes too.
You can get any city. It's like I'm in Billings, Montana, bitch. It's
amazing. I mean, it's basically like dub plates.
Yeah, totally.
It's not different. We did that for Collie Buds. We did that a bunch of artists. So it worked.
Wow, it sounds like you're shitting all over LMFAO's strategy.
No, they're monetizing it. God bless.
Were you comfortable in that position that you were in? Being the fourth man on the totem pole, working these records?
I was comfortable because I had great people that I was reporting to, like Ayelet Schiffman, who's a
legend.
Senior executive at Columbia. Mike Lieberman was there for a while too, who does a lot of work with Mad Decent Crew. And the best thing that they gave me, they told me just go on the road. And it was Ayelet was the one that when we just signed the Roc Nation deal, she was like, J. Cole is opening for 5 people on the Blueprint 3 tour. Let's go. We told them we were going to go Break Lights Please. So she was like, Brian, you got to go Break Lights Please. So her saying that, and I just lived on the road with them for that whole Blueprint 3 tour, which started in Seattle, was the one of the turning points in my career that she did that for me.
Blueprint 3 tour was J...
NERD.
NERD.
Oh, yep, big fan.
Wale.
Okay.
And then at 6:15, before the doors open up, J. Cole. It was a maintenance performance only.
It was a Ruben Studdard type crowd.
He was the first on the bill.
What did he have, like a banner or something that he could
Definitely
put?
not.
Yeah.
No. It was like him and Ib and a few other people, and they did stuff from the warm up and the come up, and the first radio station that J. Cole ever went to was Cube in Seattle.
Wow.
For the Hyphen and More show, that's where I met those guys the first time in Seattle on that first date, and then we just got Lights Please to a point, and then we started just grinding out like mid-level mix show records for J. Cole.
What was your first impression of J. Cole when you first heard about him, and then when you first met him?
First heard, I did not know about the come up or the warm up before we signed it to Roc Nation.
Big fan.
Yeah, I did not know about that. I think the warm up had just come out. Maybe a few months before that. So maybe so Jay comes in with Jay Brown, say, here are our 3 priorities, J. Cole being one of them. But we knew that J. Cole was the one that we were really going to focus on. So I met him for the first time in the Columbia conference room, and then obviously again in Seattle. And my impressions of them as people were super nice guys. It was him, Mike, Shaw, and Ib. That was the 3.
Yeah. Still,
yeah. And then we became just really tight.
And did you see a star quality within him? I
think so. Yeah. I think that they the thing that I knew the most about the 3 of them was they asked mad questions. Why are we'll do this, but why are we doing this? Those guys asked more questions than anyone else I've ever worked with. Why are we doing this really shitty performance at WMBX in West Palm at their conference room? Why are we doing that? Well, because Mark McRae at the time also is an influential programmer, and he's on a conference call, and if we do Higher and Lights Please, that it resonates. And they were like, okay, cool, got it. And he killed it. And so he and even those guys, he's like, what is research? What does call out mean? What does this mean? And so he asked all those questions, and you can tell that and also his association when he meets people, you can just tell it's instant. And there's a quality that few people have of that connection to artists and fans, and he has that. And he had a great team, and we worked all those mid-level mix show records. We worked Blow Up.
I love those records.
Those records are great.
Yeah.
And I remember we thought so many times we had the one. I remember with Blow Up, he's like, him and Ib were like, B, we got it. We just played it for Jay, we got it. So I went over to, they were in a car at the Ralph Lauren store in the West Village. And I sat in their back seat and listened to the Blow Up instrumental. And I was like, oh, we definitely got it. That is the big hit. And then it was a great record, but it was capped off at 700 spins.
So you have to sell a narrative around an artist, right?
Yeah.
What is the narrative of J. Cole at that point?
A great lyricist that is comfortable in his own skin and connects with fans.
Also taller than expected.
Yeah, also really good at basketball. Yeah. And also like went to St. John's. That was a big narrative for sure.
Yeah.
His background,
especially around here.
but just in general, like
okay.
we always wanted to play into that. Like, this is important to him.
Yeah.
Did you talk about how his name used to be the rapist?
Sean Connery. The therapist. I did not come on until after the therapist had changed to J. Cole. Shout out to the therapist.
So when's the first time you started to see like movement in J. Cole's career?
I think when we had Who Dat, right, which was
Another great record,
which again we thought was the one.
Mm-hmm. You had a video for it.
Shot a video for that, and turned out that wasn't the one. And and then there was a lull after Who Dat. I think I might be getting my dates mixed up, but like
because Mr. Nice Watch was the
right. And so once I wasn't 100% sure that Workout was going to be the record, but we had built so much goodwill. This was my own personal, like I know if I heard that record first, but people like really gravitated towards that record very early on, and then it just started. Then we got some early research back, and like Wild in Tampa got some early research back on lights on Workout, and then you could see like, okay, this thing is happening, and then we knew that we had Can't Get Enough behind us. So we probably worked 6 records at Mix Show before Workout.
Man.
So you had like Lights Please, you had Higher, you had Blow Up, you had Who Dat. I mean, we were impacting these records at Mix Show and like doing promo tours off of like mid-level, non-charting Mix Show records. But the whole time, so many fans and so many things happening, and like more affirmation of like, this is a thing, you just need the right record.
So you're not losing like enthusiasm on your end, being like, well, how come, like, where is this one thing?
Right. I think there was just so much pressure on him to deliver like this single, which I'm sure you've heard a million stories about. And so that's when that's why Friday Night Lights was so important, because all those records, those are the records that we worked. Like Higher's on there and Blow Up is on there, and those are records that he still performs. A lot of times it shows.
For sure. How did you feel as a record label executive when he puts out material for free?
I thought it was still fun because mixtapes were like part of the thing.
Yeah.
This is from my level, lower level of like, cool, like all these this is a dope artwork. All these records are great, and it buys us more time.
Now, if you were a lawyer,
right, you'd be like, what the heck is going on? But like, it kept them really hot, and it was so strategic and smart. And once Can't Get Enough, like that record flew.
Amazing.
And
amazing record.
Then when that album came out, and it did, original projection was 75 and it did 227. And
what is that morning like?
I mean, the first day we sold more on the first day at iTunes than the entire projection.
Wow.
And so because of the groundswell that he had a connection to his fans, and for whatever reason, fans wanted to buy 5, 6, 7 copies to support, and it was, and then that was just instant stratosphere. Like so much hard work put into that, and all those other records, it's crazy.
Would you go to those Dollar and a Dream
all
concerts?
Yeah, all of them.
And what would you
have to pay?
Did not have to pay.
Was your name at the door?
No, did not have to pay. Thank you, Puma, for sponsoring the last one. No, did not have to pay.
Did you go back when you first saw that shift with him? Would you go back to the office and be like, there really is something?
I think everybody was saying that.
Yeah.
Everybody who touched that project, there was a lot of great people at Sony and Roc Nation, obviously, who touched that project. Everyone was saying the same thing. This is real. This is happening. Like, this connection is insane. Everybody knew that he was super special, and it's crazy to see what's happening. And then, and the growth of like from that album, and then the Forest Hills Drive stuff is crazy.
Where you get talked about.
It's so what the story behind that is, what I learned is I was in LA, and what happens is when a master comes in from like a record label, this was 4 years ago, like the assistant to the head of A&R burns it, and then they can listen to it, right? And so like they get the first pass. But she, the woman who was doing it, she listens to it like while she's like burning it or whatever. And then she came into my office and she was like, "You won't fucking believe this." Like that, like, you won't believe this. And the fact that like we've been working together for like 5 years or whatever, and that for him to say those things about me in that song and like to spend that much time, because he skims over like some people.
Yeah. And then like you get like
a long,
you get like a whole clip.
Yeah. And so it's the nicest thing anyone in this industry from an artist perspective has ever done for me. And it's he didn't tell me he was doing that. I didn't know he was doing that, and we've never really even talked about it. But it was just a wonderful thank you that I can't believe he did that. But it's a testament to obviously what kind of person he is, and incredible.
Well, because of that, I listened to an interview that Cole did with NPR around that time.
Yes.
And Franny Kelly, for a microphone check, wonders if you're a driver.
Correct. Yes. He quickly corrects her.
Yeah.
He does. Yes. Now that was I got the extra bump from the NPR interview.
Yeah.
Which was a nice hit.
Yeah.
If you will. No, he kind of doubled down on what he talked about on Note to Self, and and from that, like that definitely that just from my own career and from my own self-confidence, it was like it's a thing, and it really helped me believe in myself further and take more steps and chances, and that's something that will be forever etched, and that record continues to sell millions and millions of copies. And I don't know why people are still listening to Note to Self, but if you look on Spotify, it's got millions of plays. So I hope they're listening to 10:45.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
11:45 on a 14-minute song. It was incredible, and like the line, like I figured it out, is so meaningful, and it is fascinating.
Is there anybody that you feel like he left out?
There's probably a few people at Columbia that are mad that they didn't get shouted out.
Or actually, are there people that are in there that you feel like?
No, I feel like he hit most people. I mean, it's 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I know all those people, and he didn't forget many, and he I think it also shows you how incredible of an artist and how thoughtful he is that he does stuff like that. Well, that's the main thing.
Don't you want to work harder for somebody who appreciates? Yeah.
Oh my God, everyone killed for him. Everyone killed for him.
Not the beginning.
No. Well, yeah, but it's like, and everyone found out like what kind of person he and Ib and Mike and Sed and all those guys are. Adam, and he, everyone kills for him, and that Note to Self is such like a, it's incredible thing.
Yeah,
he did that.
Around 2011, 2012, your job title switched.
Yes, because it turns out you can't be like the fifth person on a rhythm national promotion team in 2012. Turns out they don't need 5 people, like at all. Not in this world. Not in the post-Paola world. They don't need 5 people.
Yeah.
So I was starting to do sports. Like, I love sports, and I was like kind of carving things out on the side. No one was like pronouncing like you do sports things. It was like, I yell at me like 80-20 Google rule, like 20%, like call sports radio. Like you don't have enough stations, call sports radio. Is what Mike Lieberman, my old boss, used to say. So I started calling sports radio, and I started emailing people, and I thought like, okay, if I'm gonna do this sports thing, like let me be the guy. Like one person talks to the leagues, one person talks to ESPN, no one's talking to the players, or the stadiums or the people programming music. So I wanted to like wrap everything up and do that while I was still doing rhythm promotion. And so when there was a time when cuts were happening, my now current chairman, Steve Barnett, had the idea to like carve out a sports marketing gig, which with his blessing they gave me. I was a one-person sports marketing team, and showing value by like booking John Legend on Mike and Mike on ESPN, or like reaching out to Chad Ochocinco, like who was like do you all remember when he was like the shit on Twitter?
Oh yeah.
I reached out to like Drew Rosenhaus on a cold email, and his colleague wrote me back in like 2 seconds. And so like I would hit all these agents and say like, we'll send you product ahead of time, tweet about it, and you'll never have to pay for a ticket for a concert ever again. Like
even at $1 in a dream tour.
Even at $1 in a dream tour. And so I met a lot of sports agents that way, and a lot of people in the sports industry, and there were a handful of people that like really connected me with more people. And I got deep into the ESPN world, and that sports like world like was like my calling out of rhythm and urban radio promotion.
So what was that first trip to Bristol like?
Long? It felt longer than the ZMX Hartford run, I can tell you that. I was like, wait, I've been here before. Why am I still driving? It's 2.5. It's every bit of 2.5 hours from New York City. But the people there were super nice to me, and I just did a lot of good work because I love sports, and I can sports and music are kind of what I know the best. And so I can talk about relevant things that they're doing and how certain records work for certain things or why, these artists should be involved. And that was really just like a key pivotal moment. And that got me into the branding world and licensing world. And like, eventually they were like, you can't just do sports. Like that's, and so then that's what got me into the advertising licensing side and got me out to LA. And then I still have all of these deep sports connections,
right?
And that's been real. And like you get carve a niche, it's like everybody likes sports. Well, then why isn't someone being the guy,
right?
Similar to you guys, like people like sports and podcasting. I mean, music and podcasting, humor, like, but there's only two of you guys,
right? Right.
So like my whole thing was like, no one's doing it the right way.
And so we saw you down in Orlando at NBA All-Star in 2012.
Yes.
And you got Cole to be a part of the celebrity basketball game.
He did, yes.
Was that an easy sell?
That was like 2 years in the making. I was telling, he also performed at halftime at the Sprite. And so that was a process of like educating the NBA on who J. Cole is. Yes, he's really good at basketball. Yes,
he went to St. John's.
He went to St. John's.
He's taller than you think.
Yeah, there you go.
Shout out Felipe Lopez.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So yeah, and he I think that was Kevin Hart's first year playing.
Wow.
Remember that?
Yeah,
he
for
was
sure.
MVP.
Yeah. We interviewed him down there.
Yeah.
For MTV. He was shorter than I thought.
Yeah.
That's why I saw LeBron James in person for the first time. I think on that court with you guys.
Wow.
Like he's huge.
Yeah.
And
he's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so he
didn't go to St. John's.
We had a
not part of his narrative.
A lot of the sports stuff with Cole was easy because him and Ib are just like diehard sports fans.
Yeah.
And really good at basketball. So that was one of the things that we did that turned out really well.
Have you played basketball against them?
I have, yes.
How did you match up?
I mean, I'm like good enough not to be on the varsity high school basketball team.
Today?
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school. Like good enough not to be on the varsity high school team.
Right.
So like decent, but not like I can run. I can keep up.
Do you call fouls?
I call and ones once in a while. Yeah.
That's a travel.
I'm not calling like a mid-range like possession foul.
Double dribble, yeah.
No, I'm not doing that.
3 in the key. Yeah,
No.
So who are some of the brands that you really are proud of the connections that you made on the early end?
On the early end, I would say that Passion Pit Take a Walk Taco Bell that almost like doubled as an Instagram ad was fucking dope.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things I did in that role. And then there was a Tropicana Passion Pit spot for Carried Away. So like Passion Pit did a lot of like, they made great music and
they
like,
really
they were
do.
very brand friendly.
Yeah.
And so those were like two like early wins. That I have a lot of those relationships still now.
Well, what makes an artist brand friendly?
I think the music first. Like, does the music like resonate? And are they in their teams? And sometimes if it's just a sync, then it's a pretty like transactional thing. You can build it out, if you want, the brand wants. But like, are they like easy is the wrong word, but like, are they fun to deal with and like, efficient to deal with? I think makes them very brand friendly. I mean, I never worked with them, but like, I hear like Pitbull writes thank you notes to everybody.
Wow. So
he will get lots of opportunities because Pitbull is very like similar to J. Cole, thankful, appreciative, and they keep going back to the well, and they have fans. So a lot of those artists who show the love back, I think that comes back to them financially and opportunity wise.
And do you think that Pitbull signs his letters Mr. Worldwide?
That's a good question.
I hope so.
That's
I hope
a good
so.
question.
I hope so. But those relationships too, going back to like the Seattle radio station, the Hartford radio station, those smaller markets matter.
Yes.
And keeping those relationships alive matters.
100%.
Yeah.
The relationship building process is a huge element too. Because a lot of times when I was doing international marketing, I wasn't doing brand stuff, but I kept in touch with a lot of the ESPN people and the key people. And so when I came back, I was like, yo, I need you guys.
Yeah.
And so maintaining those relationships with the brands and is super important. Super important.
What was the first big sporting event that you attended with this new role?
In the new role, it was probably the All-Star Weekend stuff. So it was the first thing I did was go down to Atlanta to play the Turner folks a unfinished stir fry.
Wow.
It hadn't been.
Now?
Yeah.
I was talking about like at the time.
At the time.
Yeah,
at Columbia.
That's like a light stunt by Beano being
I know,
I've had a lot of promotions, a lot of title changes.
I got trained to perform at the Angels when the All-Star game was in Anaheim.
Yep.
That wasn't rocket science to get Calling All Angels, you
Yep.
know, and
Yep.
a new song. And then to be on the field and like it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And like for someone who loves sports, like I love being a part of that. I love being in the mix on that stuff.
You've been to the Super Bowl.
Been to the Super Bowl,
Been to the Final Four?
Have not been to the Final Four.
Wow. Have you been to the Masters?
Have been to the Masters.
Okay.
Yes.
Heard that's amazing. Our brother went.
Yes. No, absolutely incredible.
Do you wear a green jacket down there?
Do not wear a green jacket, but the
Oh, actually, as a caddy.
yeah, you're right. I had a bib. No, the prices, all the I'm sure your brother told you, all the vending prices are like 1960s prices.
Yeah.
$2.50 for a sandwich.
Crazy.
$2 for a beer. Yeah.
No cell phones.
No cell phones.
You run into people? Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I went when probably 10 years ago and Tiger was there. It was unbelievable.
Oh my
Amazing.
God.
Yeah.
Does Tiger win any more majors or?
I'm such a Tiger apologist. I hope so. I still root for him, and I hope so.
You see that he just reunited with Fluff?
I was just gonna say he goes through coaches
I know.
tissues, like
I mean, if you ask most people I talk to, they say no, but I have a soft
spot. Yeah,
for sure.
And you've been to the World Series?
Many times.
Okay.
Yes.
And have you been to the Stanley Cup?
I have not been to the Stanley Cup.
You didn't go this year?
I was trying to pop down to Vegas to see my beloved bandwagon fan
Washington
Washington Capitals win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But I did not make it out. But I certainly watched every game at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Wait, do you wear an Orioles jersey into an opposing stadium?
I'm not. No.
You're not there to start fights?
I'm not really a jersey guy at 37 years old. But I certainly root for the Orioles and Nationals still.
There you go.
Sure.
So when it came time to leave Columbia, did you feel like you had done everything that you could possibly do in that building? Were you? That was still at 550 Madison?
Yeah, no, 25 Madison.
Yeah.
I would say, because the last 2 years I ran Columbia's international marketing department under the Sony umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an incredible 2 years. And I think that just the offer that I had from Capitol was just too big to pass up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I originally thought I was going to be at Columbia Records forever. Until you learn that you're not, and until and so it was an incredible 12 years. But I think for what was in front of me, that time had run out.
Do they give you like sweatpants at 10 years, like, or a keychain or something?
Yeah.
Like,
no, they do some stuff. Like, I think
good.
it's
or a pay raise. I guess that works too.
Various contracts. They certainly it was an incredible.
They give you a $2 sandwich.
Right, exactly.
$1 and a dream.
It's a $1 and a dream show.
Yeah.
No, it was an incredible 12 years, and still have a ton of friends there. Obviously, I talk to all the time, and they were very, very good to me.
What was your last conversation like with Cole?
I told him, because he had left.
That's what I'm saying.
The last conversation I had when he was at Columbia.
Yeah.
I think it was like, it wasn't like an ending type thing. I think it was just, this is what it is. Like, we're still going to be friends, and we still talk all the time. So it wasn't like a breakup, if you will. It was like, all contractual.
Has he ever commented on your Instagram?
Yes, and a lot of people follow me because I'm one of like the 200 people that he follows. So yes, I get a lot of like J. Cole fan club, like wants to follow you, or like, please, here's my demo. A lot of that.
Wow.
Actually, I did see. So I went through like every one of your early posts, and some guy commented on every single one.
J. Cole, or something like rapper related.
Yeah, it was like, hey, like, I have a mixtape. How do I get it to you? Yeah.
And
that's the way to get it to you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Instagram is definitely the way. No, it's not. It's not the way to do that. It wasn't like this is the end of it. This is just like, we got the situation, like nothing but like love moving forward, and we see each other from time to time and talk.
Was there any other artists that you grew close to on that J. Cole level?
Not at that level. John Legend was always cool, and Juicy and Paul, I think, right below maybe the Cole level, where we were in the trenches, like, heavy. I think that's the thing about radio promotion, is like, you are in the trenches with these artists, and like, we were driving around, and I remember, like, even with the Cole and Ib stuff, like, we were listening to Section 80, like, right before it came out, and right when it came out. And so I remember hearing that that tape for like the first time, like in the middle of like nowhere, Florida, driving around with Cole and Ib, and like he had one of the records on High Power, or whatever, on that album.
Yeah.
And so the beautiful thing about radio promotion is you just get like so much time, and you get close to these artists from a work perspective, and then you become like invested in their careers. And not everybody is like that, and not everybody becomes J. Cole, or not everybody becomes. And with Juicy and Paul, like they were already Juicy and Paul. Like there's only so many times we get an artist at literally, as I said, 15 spins in the show to, I don't know. I heard this week, like the voice of a generation, which he is.
Yeah.
So that I feel very fortunate to like have fallen into that situation.
So when the job at Capitol comes your way, was there any hesitation on your part to take it?
No.
Stephen Barnett made the...
Steve Barnett and Michelle Jubelair is my boss. And she is incredible. She's the COO of Capitol Music Group. And we had never met before. We had a great conversation. And that was it for the most part. She's fantastic. And I will say, like, one of the things that I've been really blessed to have, and I owe a lot of my somewhat success to, is working for really strong female executives. So like if you think about Ayelet Schiffman, and then my boss when I was international was Jennifer Mallory, who's a fucking boss, and then you have Michelle Jubelair as well, like three like really strong, like they are awesome. And so like what they did was they just gave me opportunity, and so that was I feel very fortunate to have learned from them and continue to learn from them. And the current situation I'm in now is fantastic.
How many people do you have working for you?
There's about 8 or 9 of us on the team.
Do you look for somebody who has the same skills as you, or someone who complements you?
I would say I look for people who are hustlers, who have a really good disposition. Like, are you enjoyable to be around? That can cut out a lot of people.
For sure.
For sure, right? And then can you execute? And I was lucky enough to walk into a situation at Capitol where like the team was incredible. And so a lot of wonderful people on that team are just like straight up hustlers and like go above and beyond and know their shit, and have a lot other skills that I don't have, a lot. And that's why I think we're doing good work and we have a really cohesive team.
Well, where do you fall in the sort of idea that there's this traditional method of getting in touch with people, which is the form letter and the resume and all that stuff, right? And then there's the other side where it's less traditional,
right?
Where people just get to the point, and they get in touch with you and they get your attention.
I mean, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's all word of mouth. So you got to do something to get on somebody else's radar to get to someone, whether that's me or whoever.
Start a fire.
Right? Like do something. Because more if it's just a cold email, that's I don't think that's the right way. I think someone that I trust has got to say this. Look out for this person.
Reputation matters.
Totally. But then if that's the case, then I'll go to the ends to find that person an opportunity.
Right.
More so than if someone knows that J. Cole follows me and they want to hit me on Instagram.
Right. But we were talking about Cole's LinkedIn, correspondence or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think if you're adding value from like some type of way.
For sure.
Like, when people would have, like one of the ways I met Jemele Hill, who's a good friend of mine at ESPN, is she used to have her email address at the end of her page 2 columns, like 10 years ago. Yeah. And so I emailed her and I said, you just wrote about John Legend. I work with John Legend. You'll never have to pay for a John Legend ticket ever in your life. And she wrote back, and we became friends. And she's done again, and that was 10 years ago. And you see how what she's become now is started from a cold email.
Yeah.
So to your point, if you're adding value.
But it's the value though.
Totally.
It's what's beyond that subject line.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, or the athletes with agents. Like the athletes have all the money in the world, but they still want access.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's what I learned early on in the sports stuff. Access is king.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, I don't care if you're a billionaire, you still want to get those tickets for free.
Totally.
And you still want things that other people can't have. So you play off that.
Mm-hmm. So who were some of the more impressive people that you've gained access to via these, strange ways, LinkedIn and all that?
Yeah, I would say Definitely Robert Bailey, who's the president of Drew Rosenhaus's football agency. Drew Rosenhaus, most powerful football agent. I cold emailed him off the info on the website.
Wow.
That was like, there's levels to this
Yeah.
cold email. And that was like, submit message here.
Yeah.
Like that type of thing. And Robert Bailey, who's the president, who's a former NFL player himself, he wrote back, and we've been friends for 10 years.
That's awesome.
And we do a lot of cool stuff.
Freeky Zekey added me on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah, like numerous times, and I just didn't know what to do with it.
Have you built from there?
We definitely linked.
Yeah.
I met him a couple times. One time at like 4 a.m. when Cameron was like, "Yo, this dude's from South Harlem." But yeah, that's about it. I never connected on LinkedIn though.
I remember when I was in college, cold emailing people because you figure out at a certain point, and this was, a young, fertile mind, like I was like, all right, well, there's only so many ways that emails at a corporate place can go, right?
Yes.
First name, not last name.
Totally.
Or first name, last name, or underscore, whatever.
Yeah.
And once you figure it out, if you go look at a press release or something like that, and you figure out what
They'll put them in there.
Yeah, they put it at the bottom. And it's like, oh, okay, well, it's got to be.
There are definitely tricks to this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
for
sure.
Ended up meeting with people like Barry Diller or, Leroy Cohen or whoever.
Correct.
And then you get in the door, but you have to have something, obviously, to get into that meeting.
Sure.
So,
absolutely. It's a, there's definitely like part of the hustle is figuring that shit out.
Totally.
And that just, if you have that mentality, then more times than not, whatever you're trying to get to, you'll at least take the right steps to get to that point.
So beyond working with different artists, what did you want to do to level yourself up at the new job at Capitol?
I just to have
like, what is a win on the board for you now?
I think breaking more records and having like what we do at 1750, which is my department, which is brand partnerships and licensing, of like, I believe that we are the center of like breaking these records and artists. So for instance, like with Migos, it's like, okay, how do we take a group that's already pretty famous, but their upside is huge? How do we do stuff like have Stir Fry be for the theme song for All-Star Weekend, or have them perform with NERD to 206 countries, or have them in a Apple Animoji commercial? And like, how do we do that? And so you do that by cool brand partnerships and cool alignments that don't jeopardize the integrity of the band.
So important.
But yet move them closer to the mainstream to where new people can hear these records.
Yeah.
And that is what we do most effectively, and I think better than anybody else.
Well, how many, like, what's the percentage, as a guy who loves stats, like, what's the percentage of things that actually go through, and like how many things like fall through every day?
It's probably 1% go through.
Wow.
Because you have so many things you're trying to do. And it's so much, it's a numbers game. It's like, I relate, I said this a million times, but I relate everything back to gambling. If you're playing one hand at the table and you lose that hand, you're fucked. But if you're playing 12 hands, you got a lot of action, and some are going to hit and some aren't. And so you better, I tell my team this, you better be playing a lot of hands.
Yeah.
And because you're going to lose a lot. And that's just the nature of it.
But when that one hits, though,
when it hits, and then you got Certified, one of the biggest songs of the year, and one of the reasons it broke is because we had commercials and promos and opportunities to early on establish that record.
Yeah.
And
so that record's an outlier, though. By the way, like the whole album doesn't sound like that.
Yeah,
so you hear this, and are you just like what is attractive about it to you? That
it's produced by Pharrell.
Yep.
And just the overall cohesion of the Migos and Pharrell works. And the opportunity that to put it in front of the Turners and the TNTs, I have a general sense of what they're looking for, and Stir Fry was that record.
Well, I mean, but also, like, how much is it on you, and how much is it like a conversation with like A&R department and like them themselves, and like how to make that like the impact record, right?
Yeah, well, I think they had identified, like, before it got to my level or my team, it's like, hey, this is going to be a record.
Yeah.
Do we know we're going to launch it because of the NBA? No.
Right.
But we've identified this as a track that we think we can do some damage.
So when you make that flight down to Atlanta, what else are you doing down there? Do you get to like go watch, Shaq and Kenny?
Yeah,
and
no, I went down there for a couple minutes, but mostly to play them Culture 2. And at the time, Stir Fry was like a Takeoff's verse. I don't think had gotten done yet. But most of the record was done, and they, to Turner's credit, they got it immediately.
That's
they
awesome.
They knew what they had, and they And then we connected the dots on the NBA side.
How great is it to work with Coach and P?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
They are the best.
Yeah, we're trying to get them up here.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll put a good word in.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that's how you make these connections.
No,
Yeah.
totally.
Somebody trusted
No, they're
needs to make the connection.
wonderful to work with. Incredible reputation and follow through, and they just get it. And you can tell that their artists respect them, and it's an absolute joy to work with them.
Yeah, we saw Stefflon Don
Yes.
in Los Angeles. There was a Beats Capital thing at No Name.
Yeah.
We saw her there.
Yeah.
You know, a very good crowd, like
Yeah.
good energy, and
Yeah.
she killed it.
Yeah.
And we were like, we're on board.
Yeah, totally. They know how to break. What's crazy about Coach and P is they just know how to break artists.
Well, City Girls.
City Girls is gonna go.
Yeah.
Lil Baby already went.
Yep.
Or is in the process of going. And
Yeah.
it's hard to break artists. And the fact that these guys are doing it at such a high level is incredible. And they are so fantastic to work with.
That's dope. What idea has come to you in the middle of the night that you were like, oh, I definitely have to write this down or type it into my phone, and it worked?
I mean, I was the one that had said, okay, if Cole's going to do the Dale Earnhardt thing, like let's put them on the cover of ESPN magazine together. And that's, and I emailed ESPN. I was like, I know y'all doing a music issue. This song just came out. He's fake talking about Dale Earnhardt. Let's get them together. And to their credit, they did, and they reached out to Dale Earnhardt, and he's a huge fan.
Amazing.
And that the universe made that happen, and that is such an amazing cover to see. And then you also the more you listen to these records, even now, you hear certain records I think that could be in this, and you have to have some type of level of I believe that this could work, and then you just got to keep going and keep going.
Do you have any records that are watermarked?
For sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I have even from some of the old stuff, we have a lot of just older records, and the one. I mean, it's different now because there was CD watermarks back then.
Yeah.
With some albums that were different track listings before, and so I don't have any of those anymore. But there's some good watermark gems in the.
We
collection.
loved when Justin Timberlake and T.I. had a record.
My Love.
My Love.
Yes.
And the leak had Atlantic Records T.I. clearance
No
all
way.
over it.
Just every 15 seconds.
And we love that version way more.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
Yes, no. I have, knock on wood, I have never never had a leaked watermark yet.
You spoke about how the percentage of deals is 1% that actually go through.
Yeah.
What's the best deal that did not go through?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can mention one, but the thing that I can say about the emotion of it not going through is you got to get over it quick.
Yeah.
That's because what you want to happen is you want to see that on the cover of ESPN magazine because the culture needs that.
Yeah.
And so it's super frustrating when you have, and you guys know this as creators and creatives, when you have ideas that for whatever reason don't go all the way.
Yeah.
There's a couple I'm working on now that are going to go either way, and I'll know in a month. But if they have ramifications that could affect culture, that's what kills me. Because you have to be able to, what's going to happen. And sometimes to Turner's credit, they saw Stir Fry and they recognize that.
Yeah.
And other times, it's so frustrating when this could affect culture. And that's why I love doing this the most, just being in music, is because the things that you do have an impact on the rest of the world.
And you can see it.
And you can see it in real time.
Yeah.
And there's other jobs that are not in the creative space that you may do great work, but it exists in a vacuum that no one sees. And so when you do break records, whether it's whatever it may be, you see fans react to that, and that's very gratifying. That's the most gratifying stuff. But it's back to your point, when you have certain deals that could go.
Yeah.
But then you just have to charge to the game and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Or else you'll get stuck on those things.
Before we close out, I want to bring up some people that we mutually know.
Yes.
David Cho.
Love David Cho.
How did you meet David Cho, and do you have a good David Cho story?
I got lots of good David Cho stories. I met him, I think, probably through Eric Hutchinson. That whole Emerson crew is there's a lot of comedy writers, and that whole world is connected. And I think I met David through Eric, and then I met Rembert through David.
And we met you through David as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's God, David Cho, he's a character, and he always just finds himself in the right situation a lot of times, and he has we have very heated music conversations. I can tell you that. Very heated.
Well, so when I first met David, he would IM me all day.
Amazing.
Like I met him I met him
Is that
super
David show?
I met him super randomly through this guy Neil Shah, who is one of David's very good friends, and he just introduced us. He was like, "Hey, you guys both like rap. You should be friends."
Great introduction.
Yeah, which is it. And so, but David like went full force, and David
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
David was IMing me all the time, just like a milli, and I was just like, I fucking hate this dude.
He goes on to be one of our best friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he has a great episode of our podcast.
Yes, no, I did. I listened to that when I was around BET Awards week when I knew I was doing this podcast. I re-listened to the David Show Waste of Time podcast, and it was very enjoyable. And he finds himself around the right people, and they really respect his creative vision, and he's a character
for sure. Naima Cochrane.
Love Naima. Yes, Naima is. I'm so proud of Naima. I have to say this like to the public. Like told her this on Twitter or whatever. But like I'm so proud of Naima, who is was a product manager at Columbia, was at Bad Boy way back in the day, and then was working with John Legend. But what she's doing with that music sermon is so fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
in real life.
In real life, it's so brilliant, and I'm so proud of her for taking that leap. Because I think the opportunities are endless. Because I love that shit, and I love reading about like stuff I didn't know about. And
did you know that the electric slide is about?
I did not know
a
that.
Vibrator. Yeah,
I did not know that.
I didn't know it
yesterday.
until she broke it.
Yeah,
That's like she broke that news.
She did.
Can we give her credit for that?
Let's do it right now.
John Legend replied on that one. I was like, I told my wife that. She was like, no shit.
I was like looking at the lyrics. I'm like, huh.
Yeah. No.
I guess I see it.
If you don't follow Naima and Music Sermon on Twitter, I highly recommend you do. She's fantastic.
She's definitely gonna get a book deal out of it, right?
She should.
She should. The opportunities for that, because again, it's like those threads, and from a historian standpoint, and even like what the Unsung team is doing, like people want to hear those stories. I certainly do.
Yeah.
As a fan of music, I certainly do.
Also, Naima used to be our manager.
This is true.
That's right.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Friends at work. Yeah.
Yes.
Until we fired her.
No, she's fantastic. She's one of the good ones for sure.
Yeah.
You have another friend?
I mean, I guess Rembert.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Rembert is. I met him at the Upfronts. That's when I think David Show introduced me to him way back at the ESPN Upfronts, and he is. I think, and this is not because I'm his good friend. He's probably one of the best writers of our generation from a pop culture perspective, flat out.
He interviewed Barack Obama.
He interviewed Barack Obama. He wrote the best review of Huncho Day by far. And he's an incredible talent, and the stuff that he's about to do is
incredible.
Is insane.
Yeah.
And it's like whatever, I see what you guys are doing, and I see a lot of us like in this collective like come up space, and everyone's doing dope shit, and he is so funny and so well written that it's almost like frustrating when I read like some of like the who won or who lost some of those years, who won those years. Those columns are so fucking good.
Yeah.
And the stuff that he continues to write for and do is fantastic, and he is an incredible like member of like culture.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Benner
Hall from all the Duce Palooza crew. So Benner. So when I was in New York, I played on this really dope basketball team that was Al Branch, Benner, like a lot of Eddie Blackman, Della, like a lot of those guys. Damian Granderson, the lawyer. Like we had an ill New York Summer League.
Yeah.
And we played on that team. So that's how I met Benner. And Benner was always in the mix, and I'm so happy that he like found his way.
Yeah.
And he like I knew he would, but he's killing it, and he's one of the really, really good guys.
He is.
And just good energy, and even when like I just I was introduced to Kaz like a year ago by a mutual friend, and like that whole crew, I don't know all of them, but like they just roll the right way.
Absolutely.
And I fuck with all of them from like a fan perspective, and what they've done, and to see Benner like flourish like this he also likes the Arizona Cardinals football team.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And weird.
That is weird.
But he's like an Arizona.
He's not from there.
No, he's not. But he fucks with them heavy. Like heavy.
Why?
You have to ask Benner.
Yeah.
Next
yeah.
Duce Palooza.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
have a silent game.
Yeah.
But why do you fuck with the Cardinals? Like literally. So yeah.
Do you get any business done these days on the golf course?
Not as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
But a couple of my colleagues at Capitol play. So we played a couple
Niles
weeks ago.
G?
Yeah, I don't know if Niles
I don't think
plays.
Niles plays.
No.
Dimples?
Dimples, I don't know if she plays. Nathan on my team plays, and the new head
Steve
of promotion.
Barnett?
Yeah.
I don't think Steve
How about little
plays.
Stephen Barnett?
Yeah.
No?
I'm sure maybe some of his kids might play, but I just haven't played enough golf. But I would like to get to a point where I'm doing most of my work on it.
Yeah. Can you
it's
still hit
like,
them long and straight?
little duck hooks once in a while, but there's certainly the weather and certainly the access to play out in Los Angeles, and I love watching golf. I mean, outside of a few sports, I just love the competition aspect and the storytelling and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. Do you tip well when you get a caddy, or
Or
are you in a golf cart?
Or do you give like life advice instead?
more life. I'm paying you in like my presence is my presence.
Yeah.
Is that what Kanye said? Like, that's what I'm giving you guys at all times. I'm good for it, but let me just drop like 6.5 joules on you right now. That you'll thank me in 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey kid.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is how you come up. No.
Yeah. When you're emailing people.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we've known you for so long, but to hear your entire story, to hear how you've gone from being a caddy to, working at Rawkus, but ultimately working in one of the most famous buildings in music, that Capitol building, to the impact that you've made with people like J. Cole and what Migos are about to do and everything is super impressive. And just congratulations on everything.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks so much for coming up here. Love you too. And thanks really to Rembert who made this all happen.
Definitely. Definitely. At Rembert.
Thanks everyone for listening to this new episode of A Waste Time with It's The Real. Jeff, if you want to find out more about us, I'm Eric, you're Jeff. We are It's The Real.
Yes.
If you want to find out more about this podcast, it's called A Waste of Time with It's The Real.
Yes.
And if you want to get a new It's The Real t-shirt, I'm talking about those AKA t-shirts now in purple and in black. But also the 3 Los Angeles It's The Real shirts that we have left in size large.
Yeah.
Where can they go?
You can always go to itsthereal.com, ITSTHEREAL.com, no apostrophes, no spaces. Go to itsthereal.com/shop to buy all merch items today. People are saying that they are the best merch
I agree.
that they've seen.
How about that?
You can always go and listen to our podcast. Go to soundcloud.com/awasteoftime, or you can go on iTunes, search for A Waste of Time with It's The Real.
My favorite thing about the podcast, Jeff, is that they're forever.
Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, I missed this episode. No, you didn't. The episode is still there on iTunes and SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever. We have almost 200 episodes in the can. Go catch up right now.
Right. We weren't hiding our episodes from the world. The world was hiding our episodes from you or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what? That should have been my high school senior quote.
Well, it's not too late.
Yes.
You can
Senior
always...
quotes are forever.
Yeah. So are tattoos and regret. You can also go and listen to our music.
Hey!
Our music is available on Spotify and Apple Music and Google Play and Pandora.
Everywhere. And I would recommend that you guys go listen to Sugar High, which is our song with Currency and Smoke Dizza, which is a summer classic. Go find yourself on a beach somewhere and bump Sugar High for you and all your friends and all the people who say, turn your music down.
Yes. You can always go and find us on Twitter at It's The Real, Facebook at It's The Real, Instagram at It's The Real. Don't even find us on Facebook. Fuck that. We're not even on there.
It's over for Facebook.
So fuck Facebook.
That's right. Jeff, this podcast is not going anywhere, certainly not on vacation for July 4th, unless all you out there, our great friends, followers, fans, and fanatics, spread the word about A Waste of Time with It's The Real. Tell people about what's going on here and tell them that they can go listen to whatever episode they want to. So we like to shout you guys out as appreciation for being so awesome. Jeff, who do you want to shout?
I want to shout out 3 people in California. I want to shout out Devin Mitchell.
Hey.
I want to shout out Kirsten Stubbs.
Hey.
And I want to shout out Santosh.
Hey.
Everybody who's out in California, thanks for buying our t-shirts and thanks for keeping this podcast moving.
Jeff, I want to shout out someone else who bought a t-shirt. His name is Daniel Arena, and he lives down in Middlesex County, New Jersey, in a little town called Woodbridge Township. And Jeff, there may be 99,585 people who live in the township according to the 2010 census. But the one person that we care about down there is Dan Arena.
Shout out to Dan Arena.
Shout out to Dan Arena. Look, we don't care about Captain John Pike, the ancestor of General Montgomery Pike, who was killed at the Battle of Queenstown in 1813.
Certainly not.
We don't care about Thomas Bloomfield, an ancestor of Joseph Bloomfield, some years governor of New Jersey, for whom the township of Bloomfield, New Jersey is named.
Wow. I certainly don't care about that guy.
You know who else we don't care about?
No.
We don't care about anybody in Carteret or Edison, New Jersey.
Oh, neighboring townships?
Or Perth Amboy, the ugliest name in New Jersey.
Ugh.
We don't care about Clark, Linden, Rahway, and Union County, or the borough of Staten Island over in New York City, okay? We want to shout out everybody in the area code 732 and 848, but especially our guy down there in Woodbridge Township, Daniel Arena. Jeff, do you have anything to say to Dan?
Thanks. And again, you know, fuck Captain John Woodpike or whatever his name is.
Yeah, all of them. Shout out to Daniel Arena. We really appreciate you. And shout out to everyone over there in New Jersey. We've sold a lot of t-shirts to New Jersey. We really feel great about New Jersey on the whole.
Mm-hmm.
So just specifically to this, we want to shout out our guy, Daniel Arena. And to everybody else, of course, we say, not for real, for real.
Sure.
We'll see you guys next week.